So Modi government has lifted a 58-year-old ban. Government officials can now take part in RSS activities openly. The opposition, of course, is up in arms, accusing Modi, who is a former Swayamsevak, of politicizing India's institutions. But what's really behind this move? RSS is an organization that wields a great deal of power but is shrouded in secrecy. So why was RSS banned thrice? How have they gotten greater acceptance since 2014? And what is the problem if government employees take part in RSS activities? Let me explain. Before I go any further, I have to tell you that we have a big story on the News Minute this week. A very detailed and a disturbing one on a sexual assault case that shook Kerala and how it unmasked the Malayalam film industry and had ripple effects on the Kerala society. It's behind the paywall, but I assure you that it's worth your while. Stories like these take a lot of courage and commitment, but also time and money. And we're banking on you to support us so we can continue doing more such stories. So what are you waiting for? Scan this QR code and become a paid TNM subscriber right away. The Narendra Modi government has ended a ban that's been in place for over 58 years, and it's allowed government employees to participate in RSS activities. This ban was put in place back in November 1966 when Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister. BJP and the supporters have now claimed that the ban was put after a massive group of protesters, reported to be 1 lakh strong, marched towards Parliament demanding a ban on cow slaughter. This group was led by sadhus and leaders of Jan Sangh, that's BJP's predecessor. But the ban can actually be traced back to a 1964 order that made changes to the civil service rules, which banned government servants from being members of political parties or organizations. Then questions were asked on whether RSS and Jamaat-e-Islami come under the list of political parties. And this was clarified in a 1966 order that said government servants were not allowed to take part in activities of these two organizations as well. Now, many within the BJP believe that this move from the Modi government is an olive branch to the RSS after an open war of words between BJP and RSS. RSS was banned thrice in the past. The core ideology of RSS has been a nation where minorities will not have equal rights and opportunities and will have to depend on the will of the majority. By the way, RSS was actually formed by Keshav Hegdewar, who was a former congressman in 1925. And since then, the RSS has branched out in many directions. Look at this chart. The RSS formed Rashtriya Devika Samiti for women, ABVP for students, Vanavasi Kalyan Ashram that works with Adivasis, Vishwa Hindu Parishad, a militant version, and the Bharatiya Janasangh, the political party. The RSS also has a second generation of affiliates like these, like the Seva Bharati, Vigyan Bharati, and Deen Dayal Research Institute. RSS leaders have always denied that they are a network. This separation, many historians have said, was to ensure that when their members occupy positions in assemblies or governments, they have to go by the Indian Constitution and not by RSS's agenda. In fact, in 1977, when the Jan Sangh joined hands with other parties and the Janata Party formed the government, Vajpayee and Advani, who became ministers, were questioned on this dual membership. Historian Christoph Chaffelot says in his book that dual membership row was one of the grimmest chapters in RSS history, and Vajpayee had suggested that Swayamsevaks who are in politics should distance themselves from the RSS. But of course, we've come a long way from that. BJP politicians now declare themselves to be Swayamsevaks openly and proudly. The order by the government is taking it one step further, where government officials can now be part of the RSS. So why was RSS banned thrice? The first ban was in 1948, right after Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated. In February of that year, Home Minister Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel issued a notification banning RSS. It said it was necessary to root out the forces of hate and violence that are at work in our country. Nathuram Godse, who assassinated Gandhi, was a Hindu nationalist and was closely involved in RSS for many years, although RSS has claimed he was not a member at the time of Gandhi's assassination. But RSS had been accused of contributing to the climate of communal violence that followed India's independence. Historian Ramchandra Guha, in his book, notes that Gandhi had mixed feelings about the RSS, and in turn, RSS was openly suspicious of Gandhi. In 1947, the RSS's mouthpiece, organizer, criticized Gandhi's efforts to promote communal harmony in Bengal. They even compared him to Nero, who is said to have fiddled while Rome burned. Dhirendra Jha, who wrote the book Gandhi's Assassin, says that Nathuram Godse was a prominent RSS worker and that there's no proof that he was ever expelled or disowned. Godse's brother Gopal, who died in 2005, said that Nathuram Godse never left the RSS. So after Gandhi's assassination, the government banned RSS. But a year from then, that's on July 11, 1949, the ban was lifted, but only after the RSS agreed to a few conditions. RSS had to adopt a formal constitution, refrain from entering electoral politics, and operate openly rather than secretly. The second time RSS was banned was in 1975, after Indira Gandhi declared an emergency. This time, RSS was banned along with 33 other organizations, including many left-wing groups. And the third ban was in 1992. The RSS was banned again after the demolition of the Babri Masjid, which led to nationwide protests. The Union government banned the RSS on December 10, 1992 under UAPA. The government accused the RSS of being involved in the Babri Masjid demolition and provoking communal violence. Many RSS leaders were arrested, their offices were raided, and the government kept a close watch on the organization's activities. Eventually, in June 1993, the ban was lifted after a court ruled in favor of the RSS, citing a lack of evidence to support the government's accusations. The RSS was allowed to resume its activities. Now, the RSS claims that it's a cultural organization. So, if you're wondering why there's such an uproar over government employees participating in RSS activities, let's take a look at some of RSS's controversial views, starting with their stance on the Constitution itself. 4 days after the Indian Constituent Assembly approved the Constitution on November 26, 1949, the RSS criticized it in an editorial. The organizer editorial said the Constitution ignored the Manusmriti. The Manusmriti, admired by the RSS, assigns lower status to women and lower castes in Hindu society. Bala Saheb Dioras, the third Sarsanchalak of the RSS, wanted the constitution to be changed so it can reflect Indian values and traditions. Another prominent RSS leader, K.S. Sudarshan, criticized the constitution for granting special rights to minorities. Deen Dayal Upadhyay, a prominent leader of the RSS and Jan Sangh, often criticized the secular nature of the constitution and argued that it did not reflect India's spiritual and cultural ethos. While I don't want to list or repeat some of the dangerous things RSS leaders have said about minorities, particularly about Muslims, here's a sample from one of RSS leaders' books. Golwalkar, in his book Bunch of Thoughts, wrote that Muslims, Christians, and communists are the internal threats to India, and he expressed skepticism about the loyalty of Muslims to the nation, describing them as a danger to national integrity. Because of its views on Hindu Rashtra, minority, constitution, etc., for long, RSS was considered a fringe organization. But all this has changed significantly after Modi came to power in 2014. Hindu nationalism, once a marginal ideology in India, has now become part of the mainstream. And no one has done more to push it than Modi. The fact that under Modi, BJP won its first full majority in parliament has made Hindu nationalism not just acceptable but even desirable. For example, In 2014, for the first time ever, the annual speech of an RSS Sarsangchalak was broadcast live on state-run Doordarshan. Dinesh Narayanan says that RSS has consistently worked towards creating leaders in all verticals of the society and have ideologically strong people in leadership positions, so they can get society to move in a certain way that's consistent with their idea of India. The RSS runs training programs for civil service aspirants, and now around 4,000 serving civil servants came through their training. This means the Sangh has a lasting impact on the state machinery. The RSS has really expanded its influence under Modi's government. RSS members have been appointed to top positions in government, universities, and cultural institutions. The government has placed loyalists like S. Gurumurthy on the RBI board and key figures like Ram Bahadur Rai and Shakti Sinha at leadership roles at national arts and memorial centers. Birthdays of RSS leaders like Shyama Prasad Mukherjee and Deen Dayal Upadhyay are now celebrated in many state-run institutions, and you can even find their portraits in Parliament. The RSS is also trying to change education by taking control of schools and government recruitment agencies to align curriculums with their agenda. The RSS is pushing for states, including those led by opposition parties, to help Gurukul students transition into mainstream education. The latest textbook revisions by the NCERT have also shown a decisive shift in how India's history is viewed from the point of view of the RSS. I can list a whole bunch of moves that in the last 10 years have shown how RSS has been mainstream. Former President of India Pranab Mukherjee attending an RSS event at RSS headquarters in Nagpur in 2018. And in the same year, a 3-day lecture series by Mohan Bhagwat at government-run Vigyan Bhavan was attended by actors, sportspersons, academics from government institutions, journalists, and even scientists. And in the last 10 years, RSS has gotten more space in the press, with many columnists like Rajiv Tuli, Ram Madhav getting to write regular columns in newspapers. At a time when RSS has become more powerful than ever, the Modi government has decided to allow government officials to take part in RSS activities. There's mixed opinion in what lifting this ban means. Critics, including opposition parties, argue that this change will polarize India's institutions and government offices. Some argue that government servants openly declaring their ideology might make it easier to hold them accountable. For example, a retiring judge from the Calcutta High Court recently revealed his long-term RSS membership. If government employees can now openly identify with the RSS, it may be easier to ensure that they step aside in situations where there's a conflict of interest. There's also the idea that this move could pressure the RSS to act more responsibly and ensure that its activities are more mainstream and not extremist in any form. Tell me what you think of this move. Do you think it's a good move? Do you think it's taking India back a few steps, or it could actually open up society? Do write to me with your feedback, suggestions, and your opinion at pooja@thenewsminute.com. There's legitimate concern that this move can easily become compulsory RSS membership for government employees through backdoor. For nearly a century, the RSS has expanded its influence to various fronts, all while fiercely maintaining a level of secrecy and avoiding public scrutiny. Will this change now? We'll have to see.